What's up, YouTube? Frank here. Today I'm going to be talking about how I fixed my stomach problems. So I'll start off by just explaining the problem that I had and a little bit of the background story with it. So about 3 years ago, it was actually around New Year's Eve, I believe, and after that, the next day I woke up and I was like, wow, like my stomach is really feeling weird, like hurting more than I've ever felt it hurt. I kind of just figured, like, maybe it was just because I drank too much that night, or because, the holidays, and it was just constant drinking, honestly, which was stupid, but whatever, it happened. So I figured, okay, it's probably just because of that. I'll let it go. I'll see what happens, and I'll probably just get better. However, the next day, I actually went on vacation to Cancun with some friends, which probably wasn't the best idea after having the stomach problem in the first place. When we went to Cancun, it was basically just like a big party. We went to one of those like college resorts where all the kids were basically from college and around like the 20s and stuff like that. Pretty much partying the whole time for a week straight. So that really did not help. By the end of it, I pretty much was in so much pain. I literally started to get scared that I was going to have like some serious issues. I remember like the last night I was there, I was actually like in the room just Googling like, what does this mean? Like, how serious can this be? Or what causes stomach problems? And I just started freaking out, honestly. I literally just wanted to go home and go to a doctor, figure out what was going on. When I did make it home, I did some research, and people were saying it could have just been like from the excessive amounts of drinking and like eating all the junk food in Cancun and stuff like that. So I was literally just hoping that that was the problem because I didn't want it to be something worse, obviously. So I figured, you know what? Instead of going to a doctor, I'll just stop drinking. I'll take some time off with that. Not like I was going crazy or anything, but like during that week, I was drinking more than usual. But besides that, like I don't want anyone to think I had like an issue or anything. Just casual. Besides that little time frame. So then before that though, like I never had like the best stomach, so it was always hurting a little bit if I would eat junk food or, I just had kind of problems like growing up with it a little bit, like nothing major to like complain about or to bring up to a doctor or anything. So then I did that. I stopped drinking and I took like 6 months off of drinking. Within that 6 months, however, the problems actually only got worse. So that's what kind of really started getting me scared. After the 6 months, I kind of realized, it's probably not the drinking that was the problem. Then at this point, went to a doctor and told him the trip and stuff like that. And like I just got back from Cancun. They're saying it could have been something that I had in Cancun, or a little bit of like a bug in the water or a bug in the food that I was eating in Cancun. So I kind of was hoping now that this was the issue because I just didn't want it to be something crazy, obviously like a sickness or a disease or anything like that, like an ulcer or something like that, where it was a little hard to solve. So basically, what they gave me was like an antibiotic to try to kill anything that was in my stomach that could have been causing the problems. I did that and nothing, I had no results basically. Didn't feel better, kind of felt worse after taking antibiotics, honestly, because like antibiotics just always hurt your stomach in general. So during this time, I was kind of thinking, I was Googling stuff every day and researching it and trying to figure out why I had this problem or what the problem could have been. And basically, too, to mention what the problem was, it was basically like 24/7, no matter what. I felt like I was super bloated, even though I wasn't eating anything bad or drinking or eating junk food or eating fast food, or even eating in general. Like I would go a couple hours, even like sometimes like 6 hours without eating, and I would still feel like my stomach was super bloated, and I had like just pressure and basically pain throughout. Like it was the whole stomach, and like that was one of the main questions the doctors kept asking, like where does it hurt, where does it hurt, and when does it hurt. And I was basically saying like there's no variable that's happening here that is gonna like basically change the way it hurts. Like at 24/7, it was hurting and I felt bloated. They basically said, give it some more time. It could have been just something where your stomach and your digestive tract just got a little bit messed up, and it's gonna just take some time to get it back to normal. So they said basically just wait it out. I waited longer, and now at this point, it was probably like 8 months of constant pain that I was going through, and it really started to get worse and worse, pretty much to the point where at about a year, it really became like unbearable, to the point where like 24/7, I was literally just thinking like, wow, my stomach hurts. And it was like all I can think about. So it was really stressing me out, which was probably making it worse and everything. Then basically, I tried another doctor because I was like, maybe this doctor doesn't know what they're talking about. And just to clear it up too, like I did go to a regular doctor, like just a normal everyday doctor first, and they sent me to a doctor that specifically focuses on the stomach. And that's the doctor that basically said how, give us some time, put me on the antibiotics and everything, and then that didn't work. So that was a couple towns over. So I was like, you know what, like let me try a different one a couple towns over from that, get a different opinion, get a different feel for everything. So I went to another doctor and went through the same kind of deal where they ask you a bunch of questions and try to like pinpoint it, even though there was nothing really that I can help them with. And this guy basically was like, your stomach could get backed up and you could have like your digestive system basically can be like clogged. So not to sound disgusting or anything, but they prescribed me a laxative and they said take this for 2 weeks, let your system clear out and see what happens. And I was like, all right, let's see, hopefully this works. So I took the laxative and basically that did nothing. That just hurt my stomach more. So at this point I went back to the doctor and told him, look, the laxative didn't do anything, the antibiotic didn't do anything, what's next? So at this point he recommended I started doing some actual tests to see what was going on with the stomach. I did a endoscopy, which is basically they stick a camera down your throat and go into your digestive system and check that and see if there's any ulcers or anything like that. That came back actually perfect. There was nothing wrong, nothing that they found down there that was a problem. So even though it was good news that they didn't find anything, in the back of my head I was kind of like, it's just really sketchy that they couldn't pinpoint it and like they couldn't figure it out. So I was almost hoping that they found like something that was just curable, hoping that I could take a pill and and end the pain and stuff like that. Fortunately, this was not the case. Then I did an ultrasound, that came back normal. I did blood tests, that came back normal. I did a CAT scan, that was the last test I did, that came back normal. So at this point, the doctor basically said you don't have any real problems going on, nothing major. So it could just be something that you have to work out your system and let your body readjust. And once I heard that news, I was super disappointed because I just wanted to figure out what was going on, get to the bottom of this. At this point, it was probably maybe a year and a half into it of just constant pain. Like it was really taking a toll on me, and like it really sucked. And like the funny part during this too was I even asked the doctor. I was like, can I be allergic to something? Is it something I'm eating? Is it something I'm drinking? Is it just something I'm around? And for some reason, all the doctors I went to, so in total it was actually 3 or 4 doctors that I went to. I guess if you want to include all the people that did the actual exams and stuff like that too. But they're all kind of saying that like diet, I don't know how this makes sense, but they kept saying that diet had nothing to do with it and that it was just like a problem within me. So I didn't really want to believe that, and I started thinking like if it's not any of these major problems, it's got to be something that I'm allergic to. So then I started doing tests to see if I was allergic to anything. Wasn't allergic to anything that had to do with my stomach. I was basically making no progress. Spent probably close to like $2,000 between all these doctor visits and these tests. And if you want to take into consideration taking off work, it was even more. Obviously had to take a couple days off of work. Probably maybe I tried to do it on times that I like after work and stuff like that, but still I did have to miss work for it, so that definitely cost me money. So I was like, all right, so I'm spending all this money, I'm spending all this time, and no results are happening. Like I need to kind of figure this out by myself. So at this point I was literally just like on a mission to figure out what was wrong with myself. So started asking everybody, researching everything, and like I basically just started trying a bunch of random stuff. Like I said, I tried cutting out the alcohol. Then like someone said try going gluten free. I did that for a couple months, that did nothing. Someone said try eating no carbs, like the keto diet. That literally was like the worst thing I tried. It was, my stomach started killing when I was doing that. I was working out a lot at the time. My one friend, I would usually like ask him for advice on like lifting and stuff like that. And I saw one day on Snapchat that he was cooking up a bunch of vegetables and he was saying like, he said like vegan lifestyle or something like that. So I hit him up and I was like, hey Mario, like what's the deal with this like vegan diet? Like what's going on? Like you don't eat meat anymore, and how are you gaining muscle? Blah blah blah. He told me basically, long story short, watch this one movie on Netflix that explains like the background, like why he did it and like how he feels so much better and stuff like that. I told him like I've been having stomach problems and I'm literally down to try anything to solve it. I never ever thought that I would go vegan, never thought that I would go vegetarian, never thought that I would not eat meat. So I was like, you know what, at this point, like my stomach pain is so bad, like I would literally try anything. So I watched the video. It was called What the Health on Netflix. If you guys want to watch that, definitely go check it out. It's pretty crazy. After watching that, I was like, wow, so like this vegan stuff is definitely making sense to me. And it showed that how like doctors would literally be like on camera, like without knowing, and they would like be talking about like, you know, because they would confront them and say like, how come you guys recommend eating meat when like it's classified as like a class blah 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 carcinogen, stuff like that. And they would literally be like, oh, you know, like get out of my office, like this is like a business here, we're not trying to scare customers away. Once I saw that, I was like, like that's it for me. Like I was done, I was sold. And they also explained how like the meat is the hardest thing to break down in the body, and how like your digestive system really isn't meant to like digest meat. And if you compare like our digestive system to other animals that are carnivores, most of the carnivores have a very short digestive system, but ours is super long. And that's basically in line with all the herbivore animals. So it kind of does make sense too. They say stuff about like your teeth, like we don't have the teeth that allow us to actually grab into a piece of raw meat and rip it and eat it like that. It is also kind of a little strange that when you're eating meat, you have to actually cook the meat before you can eat it, and you have to use a fork and knife to cut it before you can put it into your mouth. So if you think back like into like, you know, primitive times and stuff, like how is that like meant to be if like we had to like do all this stuff just to eat the meat? So that kind of was like in the back of my head. And also too, like when you think about it, like all the other animals that are carnivores or even omnivores, like they're not eating meat the way that humans eat meat. So like they're not going out and, you know, killing an animal, chopping it up, frying it up, cooking it up, and seasoning it and doing all this crazy stuff to it. They're literally eating it with the blood raw, you know, and for them, like that's what they're meant to do. Like their digestive system are in track, their teeth are in track, and they can eat it raw and be fine. For us, like we have to kind of like do all this little work just to eat the meat. So that is literally the main reason why I was like, all right, this makes sense now. Like it's weird to me. To me, like it's weird how we can't eat meat the way that other carnivores eat meat right off the animal. So I literally after that I finished the meat in my house and I straight up boom went vegan cold turkey, and I stopped eating meat, stopped eating dairy, and you know after like a couple months it really started to help my stomach tremendously. And like now at this point it wasn't pain every day, and it wasn't as bad bloating. So I still would have times where I would be bloated, and at this point, like instead of it being 24/7, literally every day, 365, it was like probably like one or two times a week where I would have like a bad day, like my stomach would be like hurting. So I was like, you know what, like I'm loving the diet, and now it's not like unbearable, and now it's not the only thing I'm thinking about. So I stuck with it. I was like, you know, hopefully like after a certain amount of time, like this will just basically make me have no stomach problem. It did start to kind of just diminish a little bit. Like every month that went by, I had less and less problems. But at the end of the day, like I still did have some of the problems. So this is when I came across doing more research, and at the time, I was researching like specific people that I like admired and stuff like that. And then I came across Steve Jobs and like his whole story. And once I started like looking up at him and basically watching videos on him and doing like seeing interviews and stuff like that, I found that he was vegan for a majority of his life, and he was a really big believer in it. And you know, he did a lot of like kind of like out there stuff, like where he would do super long fasts, like basically not eating for a long period of time. He did periods of time where he would basically eat only fruit for weeks, months at a time, nothing else. So I was like, all right, that's pretty crazy, but you know, it's Steve Jobs, and I feel like at that level, back to like the whole like everything's a business thing. I feel like at that level, like those kind of people who were like the superiors and like the people who are high up in the world and stuff like that, I always kind of believe like, do they have like some background information like that we don't know? Like they know something we don't know, basically. So I started looking into it, and I was like, why is he vegan, and why is he doing these fasts, and why is he eating fruit? I was looking up like books that he read that he enjoyed and recommended, and like I found actually like a list of books that he recommended that everyone should read, and it was like 10 best books that Steve Jobs recommends or something like that. So when I was looking through that, I saw one that said The Mucusless Diet Healing System by a guy named Arnold Earhart, I believe is how you pronounce it. So I was like, all right, this sounds pretty crazy. And now I was probably 2 years into it, and I was actually this time going to Vegas with some friends and my brother. And I was like, this would be a good time to just bang out this book, see what it's about. So I start reading the book, and basically, long story short, even though it's not a short story at all, this guy from probably I really don't remember, I guess like 200 years ago or something like that, he basically had a serious disease that they said was not curable. He basically did not want to believe that, and he figured, I might as well, instead of just spending my last couple months or whatever that they said that he was going to be living, just kind of trying to live it up, I might as well try to like solve it or fix the problem or maybe extend the time of living. So he started doing all these crazy studies. Like, I don't know the backstory on how he had like the money to do this or anything, but he basically started like traveling the world and like studying different eating habits and different health problems for each region. And the craziest thing that I remember, like I was on the plane, and I got to this part, and I was like, what is going on? Like, this is crazy. I tapped my brother on the shoulder, and I was like, we gotta like try this stuff. And um, basically, what he said was, when he was going to other countries, he noticed that the healthiest countries ate majority of fruit and vegetables and no meat, no dairy, nothing processed. And these were the people who were the healthiest. So basically, what he did was he started like implementing that into his diet, and he started to feel better and stuff like that. So then what he did was he took it further. He started doing like more studies. He did like case studies on like people, and he started from other regions that he went to. He learned about how people were doing fasting and how fasting was a part of different religions, different countries. So basically, what he found was when you do fasting, or when you fast rather, basically what happens is after like the second or third day, the body has like nothing left in its stomach, and at this point, like the body could start to heal itself, because supposedly like the belief is that the body can heal itself as long as like the conditions are right. And the belief too in this book is that all diseases are caused from diet and like mucus in your body. So this doesn't just mean like mucus, like as if like a sore throat or like a runny nose or something like that. The mucus is basically all the meat and dairy breaking down, and like he actually did like a pretty disgusting example where he said, take a piece of steak, put it in a sealed container, and then put it out in the sun for a little bit, leave it for a couple days, and then open it up and see what you see. And basically, it's just like it turns into like slime and like mucus and stuff like that. And he was like, think about it like that's your body, because your body is hot, obviously. It's going to be getting worked through your system, and then basically, even though you're going to get the protein from it and stuff like that, and the calories, the carbs, whatever, the rest of it basically turns into like the mucus. And like along the process of breaking it down, like there's going to be the mucus being built up in your system, and like year after year, and it starts to build up, and that's what starts to cause all the problems. Like the disease is in the mucus, basically, that's in your system. So what he found was through eating fruits and vegetables, this is actually breaks down the mucus and gets it out of your system, and so does the fasting. He found that by doing basically a vegan diet, but not eating any of the processed foods, not eating any of the flour, like bread and stuff like that, and pasta, and not eating any of the starches. So basically, potatoes is pretty much the only thing I can kind of think of. There's some like starchy vegetables and stuff like that, but all the starch and this basically stuff that kind of like forms like a glue in your body when it breaks down, you don't want to have. This is basically what I started doing. I implemented that into my diet, and like even though I was already on the vegan diet and like that was helping, at this point, once I cut out all the pasta and the flour and like try to do away with bread, like the only bread I'll try to eat now is like bread that's made out of like whole wheat, for example, like none of the white bread or anything like that. Nothing that you could kind of like clump together, and like you see that it can almost become like a paste, especially if you like add water or something like that. Like stuff gets on the top, like builds up on the roof of your mouth when you're eating it. Like you kind of just could tell that it is gonna make like a slime or whatever in your system. So after doing this, like this is literally when I pretty much figured that, okay, this is really working, so let me stick with it. So I actually did get into like doing some of the fasts. I did just basically one main fast where I didn't eat for 3 days straight, and I only drank fruit juice, like actual fruit juice that I made like with a juicer, putting fruit into it, drinking that straight up, like nothing from the store, nothing like that. And after that, it really did help. And from there on out, ever since, like I'm so thankful. It's not even funny that through this new diet, and so basically through a vegan diet but nothing processed, or I won't even lie, like sometimes now, since it's like it's to the point where my stomach is finally good, and like I don't have like the everyday problems or even the every week problems. I will have like some stuff that's processed. Like if I'm out, I try to like stick to like mainly whole foods though, like when I'm home and cooking and stuff like that. But the main thing I stay away from is like I haven't had pasta in probably like a year, and I haven't had like white bread probably in like a year, and I'm on a vegan diet. I know a lot of people hate on it and think it's kind of like stupid, corny, trendy. I get that, and I get where they're coming from, and I do also get that like there's a lot of vegans out there that are like kind of that hate on people who are eating meat, making it seem like it's morally wrong and stuff like that. And like it sucks because like that gives it a bad name, and it kind of puts like a little damper on it, and people don't want to give it a try because they think about like vegans like, oh, like the angry vegan like that's mad about like people eating meat. I don't really care what people think, obviously, but I just figured like it's helping me at the end of the day. And then like I really did start to get into the whole vegan diet and like just all the other benefits, like the environmental benefits and for the animals and stuff like that. I won't even lie, I'm not like the biggest like animal rights like activist. Like I obviously believe that like it's smart and it makes sense, but I won't try to say like that's why I went vegan. Like I'll admit like I went vegan to help my stomach and to help my own situation out, and it worked. And like now there's just like no turning back, and I just feel so much better in every way. Like not even my stomach, but just even like the energy levels. Like I pretty much, I swear I really have like unlimited energy. Like it's crazy. So I just can't even believe it, and it's just better like quality of life to me, honestly. Getting that mucus out of like your blood and stuff like that, like I was saying about the book. One thing that was kind of weird is like my hands and feet always used to go numb, and it was basically just because like they said like poor circulation. But since I went vegan and like now I've been doing this diet, like I never get that anymore. Like there's just all these weird little benefits that I love, and I can't believe that I like didn't find out about this earlier. And I'm just super glad I did it. So if anyone is having like stomach problems or anything like this, like definitely look into trying a vegan diet, or at least just cutting back the meat and start implementing like more fruits and vegetables like that. And it is weird too, because like when I was having all these problems, I would tell people and try to ask people if they had similar problems, and like I did find a lot of people that actually did have similar problems with their stomach. And like a lot of people complain about bloating, and a lot of people complain that they always feel bloated, that their stomach always hurts. And honestly, I think it's just because like nowadays, like it's all about like just like speed, like the American diet, or not the American diet, the American like way of life. Like we're all about just money and getting things done quick as possible, fast as possible, cheap as possible. And like we forget to think about like what's actually like the repercussions to that. Like eating all this processed foods, like you see like all these little statistics and stuff saying how like 100 years ago, like the food that we eat now wasn't even around. Because like think about day to day, like what are you eating? Like everything's packaged and like made in like a factory. Nothing's really, I mean, like I'm not gonna talk for everyone, but a lot of the stuff that people eat is just fast food or packaged this or preserved this. Like everything's loaded with preservatives, everything's loaded with chemicals. And like you read the back of the ingredients on like these processed foods and stuff that like you're eating, and like unless you're some super smart guy or girl, like you can't even read half the ingredients on the back. So I mean, like to me, that's kind of sketchy. Like, if you even like look at the back of those packages, or even like shampoo, like everything that you're using and stuff, like and just Google like one of those words and like see what it is, like it's literally mind blowing. Like you'll see like even like cereal or something, like you'll read the back, you'll see an ingredient, you look it up, it's like, oh, this is using like rat poison. And like it is just crazy. And it's just crazy too how like no one like shines light on this subject, and it's basically just like kind of on the back burner. Like yeah, like it's fine they're eating all these preservatives, like like the food's great for you, like but just make sure you don't drink alcohol, like as if like alcohol and like cigarettes and stuff like that are like the main problem. Like even though obviously those things are horrible too, but like food that we're eating isn't the best either. So I don't know. It's just something to think about, and like I just wanted to share my experience because I wish that I would have saw a video that explained this problem, a couple years ago, so I didn't have to go through those couple years of torture. So that's why I'm putting it out there, and just let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you guys try anything out, and that'd be cool to hear. All right, so that wraps it up for today. If you guys enjoyed the video, please give it a like. If you guys want to see more, subscribe to the channel. And if you guys have any questions or concerns or comments that you guys want to let me know about or ask, please do so in the comments below. And that's it, guys. Have a good one.